Ironman Maine 70.3 2022 pre-race info, athlete briefings. This is for the last minute info will be relayed to you. Make sure you're heading out to these this year. They are more important than any years past. And there's been a lot more race changes in race week or the days leading up to it than in most cases. I would imagine that this is similar. There might be something small, might be something big, but chances are there will be something that has not been laid out in the athlete guide, which I highly suggest that after you watch this video, you go read the athlete guide. It's a lot more in-depth. It's got a lot more stuff in it. Swimming before the race, it is not allowed. It is prohibited in the race area. They will have the buoys up and marked out ahead of time, but different than in years past, you will not be allowed to swim at the race venues. Watch out for locals here. If you're venturing out into the road a little too far, they will let you know. Check in. Look for your active.com email. Make sure you choose a time to check in. They will email you probably a week or so before the race. Bring your QR code or have it on your phone. At check-in, you will get your timing chip, bib number, race packet, IDs, stickers, swim caps, all the good stuff. Saturday, wear your timing chip for bike check-in. This has not been the case for all events, but it probably will be the case for yours. It was not specifically listed in the athlete guide, but just to be safe, when you are dropping off your bike the day before, make sure you are wearing your timing chip. If you want other specifics about check-in the day before or just the day of events, make sure you check the table there. Race day. The race start is at 6 a.m., 4:30 to 6. Usually you have about 15 to 20 more minutes in transition. Today you do not. 6 a.m. is a race start. So make sure you have yourself set and sorted and at the start line by 6 a.m. Shuttles, you might want to check if there are shuttles. There were not any I'll jump ahead here. There were not any listed on the athlete guide here, but I would expect there will be some stuff that will allow you to transport to and from. Let's back up here. Race day info. Again, transition opens at that 4:30, closes at 6 a.m., a little bit different than the other ones. Morning close bag, it will be your white bag, and you will drop that off at the swim start, so you will have access to those bags at finish. They will transport them for you. No body marking at this race. And again, this shuttle time is not correct here. That's from another event, so ignore that. Aid stations on the bike every 15 miles and 1 to 1.5 miles on the run, 2-loop run course, so that will come in handy later on. The typical fixings are all offered here. If it is a hot race, make sure you know which aid station has the active ice there so you do not miss it or skip it if needed. Cutoff times, pretty typical stuff, 8:30, 1:10 after the last swimmer. Bike and T1 have to be faster than 5:30, or T2, it's a typo there. So if you are in transition and you are, or transition 2, right, and your total time exceeds that 5:30, you will be DQ'd. They might let you out ahead of time, but your official race results will not reflect it. 8:30 is the total time mandatory cutoff. Swim temperature 76 to 84 is wetsuit optional. I am envisioning this one being a wetsuit swim, so bring it just in case, but if not, then not. Qualifying for Worlds. Awards for the race are scheduled for 3:30 with qualifying slots awarded immediately after. Be there at 3:40. You must be in there in person to collect your slot. At this race, there are 75 slots available to you, and they will not wait. So be there if you are close. The swim, downriver swim. Again, this is the first of this race. It was in the ocean last year, so it is a new course this year, which is very, very exciting. It's going to be a fast one. It's going to be very, very interesting. The swim, there's possible shallow conditions closer to the shore, might be a barge or two mixed in there, but everything that I've seen has said that it is a downriver current and it is very akin to the Chattanooga swim course, so expect a little faster times than you are planning on. Plan to wear the wetsuit as talked about before, and if not, then not. It's a downriver swim, so it won't hurt you too much if there is not a wetsuit there. There are turns at the start and finish line, 2-turn course, or if you're really nitpicking, there's a 3-turn in there, that mandatory turn buoy right in there. And aside from that, there is not a whole lot of things to report. I'm going to imagine that underneath the bridge here, they are going to push you up further off to the right, so you won't be able to venture all the way to the left-hand side and cut that course or cut that triangle a little bit more. If they do allow you to take that, and it is truly a down current swim, and it is shooting you down there, I would suggest going a little bit wider if it's safe, because that's going to maximize your current potential down in there. But just like other races, they're probably going to want to keep you pretty close to the shore just in case something does happen, and I don't envision that being possible. So again, keep that in mind. With these down current swims, very, very, very common for athletes to say that it's just down current, I don't need to worry about drafting or anything, and that is often a huge, huge, huge deterrent of a PR right there. You can't get a PR in the swim, but it can definitely help you. So if you do link up with a group of 4 to 5, and they are pulling you along and you're having to work a little bit to stay on it, that is a perfect scenario because you're going to get the current assisting you, but you're also going to get that 3 or 4 people that you're riding the coattails of right there. If you are alone, just maintain your pace, and if there is someone behind you, try to see if you can have them work a little bit and just rotate through there. There is, before we skip here, the swim exit is a little bit interesting. If you look at it on Google Maps, it's not a traditional swim exit. It looks like they're going to have you run through a little bit of shrubbery. They're probably going to cut it all down, chop it all down. There will be carpets and stuff, but just keep your head on a swivel for other things in that swim exit. It is also a lengthy swim exit. Okay, so make sure you are not sprinting this T1 to get to the transition area. Athletes are going to be doing that. It's going to be really, really common for athletes to try to make up the time that they lost, or seeing that they're out of the water a little bit earlier, they're going to want to sprint to the transition one to try to maximize some of those best times again. Just get there, okay? Walk, jog, do not really run. All right, it should be kind of a saunter over there. It shouldn't be a full-out marathon or half-marathon pace right there. It should just get there, okay? If you are able to get out of your wetsuit at the swim exit, I would highly encourage you to do that because it's going to be easier to travel without it and just put it over your shoulder, or you can just do the first top half of the wetsuit and just run with the bottom half on. Bike course. This is going to be an awesome bike course. You're going to use all of your gears. This on the bottom here, this is going to be the terrain right here, and you can see that it's about 3,200 feet of climbing right here, and there are turns, chicanes, there's a turnaround. This course has pretty much everything on it, okay? It's going to be rolling always, pretty much. There's not going to be a whole lot of flat sections. It's going to be aggressive rollers for the most part. There is a lot of 4 to 6 percenters, especially in the first half of this race. It's going to be a tendency to chomp the early rollers and stand a bunch. Okay, and with that, you can see here, I'm just going to fast forward to mile 20. From mile 20, all the way to mile 50, it's a steady uphill drag. Again, you can see it's very jagged, but it is a net uphill to that finish line. Okay, so if you chomp those early rollers and stand right here in this red section, right, do not overdo it. If you really, really muscle up these and try to hang with packs and play games that are out of your realm of staying with, that's going to really, really blow up in your face later. Because you'll be able to hang with a lot of people up until mile 10, but if you've had too much fun in those first 5 miles when you should be setting yourself up, actively catching up on nutrition and just getting ready to rock and roll, staying within your power numbers, if you are ignoring all of those, having fun, staying with people you shouldn't be staying with, you're going to be able to hang with them until about mile 10 where it gets real, okay? And this is, it's going to suck you into extended efforts that are too high in this section right here. That's going to just jump it into the next section here. And again, you're going to be able to do it, but at mile 15, these efforts are going to start to collectively stack up on top of you, right? And then when you get to the real work, mile, let's call it 13, 15, 16, right in through there, all the way up pretty much till mile 50, 52, you're going to pay for it later on, big time. Big time. This has got to be a course where you have to carry your speeds around all these turns when possible. I didn't write that, but when possible. There are going to be a couple of tricky turns right throughout the course, and they will come right at the beginning. Okay, what that means is on this course, this is going to be a bunchy course. There's going to be a lot of packs. You're going to catch up with people on the uphills, and they're going to stay with you on the downhills for the most part. If you want to kind of put effort in between you and a couple of different people, the best places for you to do that are on some of these uphills. And when it is downhill, simply carry your speed instead of attacking those downhill sections. There are going to be times when you do want to attack those downhill sections so you can ride up on some of those other hills, but if you do that continuously throughout the day, then right around mile 40, 45, right through here, that's going to be where you pop, right through there. So watch your power numbers, look at your best bike splits that we have set up for you, and hit those targets. Tension on your chain, this is just a continuous one we put on all of our race profiles or course overviews, right? On this one, it's going to be very, very important to do. Tension on your chain on the way up, tension on your chain over top of the hill is going to be a big one, a big one, and especially carrying that for the first third of the downhill. Times of breaks are going to be that middle third of a downhill, but then when you get close to the bottom, you're going to have to start pedaling again if you did not or were not able to maintain that speed on the way down. 32 miles an hour, once you hit this time, it's probably more beneficial for you to start coasting than it is to keep pedaling. So you're going to get more aerodynamic drag when you start pedaling, and you're going to have to output more power than it will take to overcome that drag of you going faster for you to go faster. Possible wind conditions. This is going to be a course where there's going to be swirling winds. Wind's going to be coming at you from all different angles. When it is a populated area, it's going to be coming through the trees, buildings, whatever. You're going to get a couple breaks in there for sure, but there are going to be places where you have to battle the wind, and that just depends out on race day where it's going to happen. It's going to be a fun course, but it's also going to be a challenging course. Like we talked about, there's going to be pretty much everything here for you. There's 3 aid stations that they have marked out here. One at mile 16, 30, and then also 45. So 45 is going to be the last opportunity, probably right at the top of that hill, to get some food in there. When you are on that back section, this is going to be the real last opportunity for you to kind of pile some of that food into your body, but we'll talk about that in a second. Effort and pacing are going to be difficult. It just is what it is. It's not always going to be pretty. It's not going to be ideal like if you were doing a super flat course or Maryland or any of those ones where it's just rollers or just really, really flat. So with that, you're going to have to, what I would suggest here, I didn't put it here, but there is also a cheat sheet out on the course right here, and this is an abbreviated version right here, but you can also look at that and say, okay, when it's a major hill, I'm at 165 watts, and when it's at a 4 to 6, which there is a lot of here, I'm at 190. Okay, and just have those markers in the back of your head. Maybe put that on one of your data fields on your bike computer when you are out there. Again, already talked about the bunches. There's going to be a lot of them. Watch out for the descents. That's going to be where a lot of people run into trouble, especially for the first, the descents, and then the first part of those uphills where you have people flying up behind others, and it's just going to be a mess for a little while until it starts thinning out. So those first 15 miles, probably up until that, probably after that first rest stop, it's going to be bunchy. It's going to be busy. Head should be on a swivel. Make sure you are looking around you before passing and you know what's happening around you pretty much every 30 seconds. On the turns and the turnaround, gear correctly through them. Know what's happening. Make sure you study this map for a couple of minutes and say, okay, where are the important turns? Where are the sharp turns that I really got to worry about? 1, 2, 3. There's a bunch of them. The turns through here. You have a lot of turns that are greater than 90 degrees out on this course, so the ability to carry your speed through those and not cross the center double yellow line will be huge. This is a power heavy focus course here. If you do not go with power, it's going to be very hard for you to simulate or just put down accurate power or effort over this course. If you are going with heart rate, I would shoot under some of those goals that you have or targets, purely because as we kind of get into that, it's such a jagged course that heart rate really won't be able to be effective for the first couple of miles, and if you overdo it, you'll pay for it the whole rest of the ride. So this is a best bike split layout of a course. You can see here it comes early that you do have to output some bigger power, but the main sources of power don't come for later. So if you do have a lot of fun in those first 5 miles, then mile 10 is going to be the first opportunity for your body to say, hey, this is too hard, and we are going to slow you down big time. There are going to be a couple other places where the power does go up for an extended period of time, but again, those are fewer and far between as the race gets longer and longer and longer. First 5 miles, don't overdo it. Second, the next 10 miles after that until mile 16, 17, again, that's an area where you are going to get sucked in. This is a great opportunity to fuel this flatter section right through here, mile 5 to 10. If we look at that, that is right along the river here, 5 to 10. Okay, that's going to be one of the flatter sections out on course. It should be very, very nice. And then afterwards, you have some work. And again, you have a smaller, chunky section from mile 15 to 20 at the bottom half of this course. Again, right along the river. So when you're right along the river here, that is a great opportunity to say, hey, how much food have I had? How much liquid have I had? And B, what do I need to do from here? And again, once you get at mile 20, this is arguably where the course really starts in my mind. This is the magic zone out on course. Watch your power targets here and know your targets. I have that in bold, your targets. People are going to be playing games, and they will be able to play them until mile 40 or 45. And even if they get off the bike faster than you, if you have stayed within your zones, you're going to have a much better opportunity or capability to run them down later on. Carry your speed at the last section here. Again, this is one of the last sections where you can fuel. I would start that at the top of the hill and just get everything you need to right in here. That is more important than speed. But then after you get your food sorted and your liquid hydration sorted, then you need to start to pick things back up and try to carry that into the finish line. And you can see here, it is not done once you get to mile 53-ish. Power is going to pick up again, and you are going to have to work a little bit to get into that transition area. So when you are going down this downhill or net downhill, false flat downhill right here, make sure those pedals are continuously turning. And when they're turning, there needs to be some effort going through the pedals. It shouldn't be just a pure coasting, just spinning the cranks and just kind of getting through it. There does need to be, as you get closer and closer to the work zone, you need to keep pedaling and put some power out. Think if your FTP is like a 250, 100, 150, it should be pretty easy stuff right through there. And you should just be going and building your speed back into that target zone as we get past here. Some bike course penalties. You can read these. Bike length, 6 bike lengths apart. 3 reds equal a DQ. If you do stop or if you do get popped with a drafting or something, make sure you look at the map when you do check in. There will be a penalty tent somewhere out on course. If you do get your penalty before it, you have to stop at that tent. If you get your penalty after that penalty tent, you have to stop at the transition area and serve your penalty in the transition zone. If you are in the transition zone serving your penalty, keep in mind that there is a 15-minute rule in the transition area, so do not lollygag and get to that penalty tent as fast as possible. You have to get everything set up before you get into the penalty tent, and you cannot do anything that will help your race there. You simply have to sit there and serve your penalty, but you need to get in there ASAP. Run course. Run course, there's 517 feet of elevation gain. It looks a lot more menacing than it is. There are going to be areas where you do work. It is along the rail trail. It's along the river, so you know it is slight rollers for when you are on there. There are periods of time where you have to get up on the road, go over a bridge, but aside from that, it is a pretty low-key run here. So we have our race targets up here. This is an example of a pace athlete, and you can see that the first part right here, I should have put a red dot right here, but do not come out flying. If your race target average is at 8:30, do not come out of here putting 8:30s down for this first mile. Instead, I would rather you simulate it as an uphill section and take 30 seconds off your mile time for that first mile or so. Very, very common for athletes to carry that for the first 2-ish miles and then get into that their race pace or race power effort. And this is a great course for you to do that because once you get past mile 2, 2.5-ish. Now 2.5, there is a bit of an uphill here, but you can very easily, or should be very easily, able to hold that race power for a long time, pretty much the bottom of that course right through there. And then once you hit that turnaround point, you will turn around. There will be a little downhill, uphill, back, and then you have to repeat that, right? And then afterwards, you're holding your race power again. This is the up section up over the bridge. It's a little chunky in there. That's not 100% accurate, but I did the best I could with their map provided. And then afterwards, this is a course where you are going to be able to hold your race target power for a long, long, long time. Okay, overdoing it early is going to be a recipe for disaster. There's going to be a mix of shade and sun out here. Again, it is on the rail trail. The pictures that have come out from it are really, really nice. There's going to be sun, there's going to be shade, but there are going to be some rollers here that might put a damper out on your day. So do not overdo it, just like the bike. Just watch your pace, watch your heart rate, use them together to figure out what's going on. It's going to be super common for athletes to take everything that we've just talked about, show up and blow up on the run. They've paced themselves all day long on the bike. It was a challenging and fun course. And then when they get to the run, they're going to go crazy for those first 6 miles and pay the price for the last 6 miles. So ideally, I would love for you to have a negative split over the course of this run. Very, very possible on a course like this. There's a little finisher kick up there, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue once you get that close. If you do positive split this, it should be by 1 or 2 seconds per mile if your nutrition and pacing is on point. If you blow up in those first 2 miles, you need to figure out what has happened and why, okay? If this is the case for you, your race is not over and you can correct it. It will take a little bit of time, though, probably 3 to 6 miles after that, and you do have 5 miles left, and you will be able to run in if you fix it, okay? So evaluate what's happened over the course of the bike, how much nutrition, how much calories, etc., sodium, whatever it is, protein. Envision or calculate how much you've had over the course of the last couple of hours, and if it's not enough, you need to fix it when you get to some of those aid stations out on course. Fix it, don't wait, be reactive, and just predictive out on course, okay? That is the Ironman Maine in a nutshell, and if you guys have any other questions, I will be talking to you on a more individual basis, and we will go from there. Good luck to everybody.